is a special educational section that we are going to conduct here. And I would like to introduce our guest speaker today. I'd like to call upon our special speaker for today, who is known to be author, a TEDx speaker, and held the position of district director from July 2016 to June 2017. He also held various significant roles such as Pathways Ambassador, Program Quality Director, and Club Growth Director. He has inspired youths through his role as a chair of the Young India in Hyderabad chapter, which is a movement for Indian youth to converge, lead, and to co-create and influence India's future. He is also a proud co-founder of the Sumadhu Trust, envisioning a rabies-free India, a person with many hats and a lot of inspiration to all of us. Please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster all the way from Ilan Toastmasters Club, Toastmaster Chandrasekhar.
Toastmaster of the day, Avinash and Saurabh, for setting this up. And good morning to all the members who are here and who are attending this meeting and also this session. As you already know, my name is Chandrasekhar, and it's a great pleasure that I got this opportunity to engage with you and to interact with you and share my understanding and my experience of what is mentoring, and also learn from all of you about your perspectives on mentoring. Having said that, in fact, I must say that when I got into this meeting, I think it was just about time for the second speaker to go ahead. And after hearing to that speech and all that he has told about mentoring, I am having two thoughts. Thought number one is, of course, it's definitely not easy to deal with Saurabh. But thought number two is even more dangerous, because if you are just a mentor to somebody for a couple of speech, the speaker ended with a question that, will you kill your mentor? Now, if I'm engaging you for 45 minutes on mentoring, I don't know what 50 of you are going to do with me at the end of this session. So I'm really scared to start with. Anyway, so you're thanking me because I'm right? Okay, so with that, I just want to go ahead and share my screen. All of you see a blank screen?
It's black right now?
Yes, it is black.
Okay.
Because that's where we start off with. We start off from what is not known to what is known. So that's the reason why I have put symbolically a blank slide where certain questions to which we do not have answers is what we are going to explore in this session. So I want to begin this entire session with a question to all of you. And as I normally say in all my sessions, I would like to have it as interactive as possible. So you can use your chat window for interacting with me. I'm going to keep the chat window open, and I'm going to look at your answers and responses and then construct this session going forward. Is that okay with you? And if you agree with me, then you can start off by typing yes in the chat window. I have 50 people on this session. I want to see 50 yes. Good, keep them coming, keep them coming. Thank you. I really appreciate your time to take and respond to this. Thank you so much. Yeah. Good. Some of you are yet to say yes, because I really want all of you to be involved in this session. So I'll give that a few seconds. All right, great. So now here we go. The first question for today's session. And that's this. What is mentoring? Yeah. What is mentoring? In your opinion, do not worry about being right or wrong. I want you to go ahead and tell me what is mentoring. Whatever you understand about mentoring. Okay, it's a two-way street to learn, says Ishwar. It's guiding, says Manoj. Sushil says it's guiding again. Guiding through experiences, yes, some development there. Helping others with experience, guiding someone in the right direction according to his or her interest. Okay, that's a controversial statement, Ishita. Guiding somebody in the right direction, if it is my interest, what is right for the other person is a question. Helping hand and learning curve, make others better than before. Sharing is caring, supporting, holding the mirror to somebody. Very interesting answer, Animesh. Guiding in a proper way, the best possible way. Okay. Empathy development. Now, this is looking at mentoring upside down. What is in it for you if you are a mentor? All the answers prior to this was from the point of view of a mentee, but now this answer from Bhavana is from the point of view of a mentor. Okay. Then when somebody approaches you, guide them for what they have to achieve. Okay. Showing the right direction to improvement. All right, understanding their potential with making a better version of themselves. Charan says retrospecting your own journey and making the mentee to avoid the pitfalls. Well, may not be always, Charan, but then I give you that benefit because, of course, mentoring is always trying to share your experiences. And if you're coming from that perspective, yes, your definition of mentoring is correct. Satya, whatever knowledge is there is sharing with others, okay? Enlightening others' path. Share your knowledge and experience to younger or less experienced who supports you in all aspects, says Suvarna. And Ishwar again saying showing good direction and correcting. Okay, great. Now, at least I know what is in your mind, right? I at least understand that where we are as an audience when we are entering this particular session, because this session is all about mentoring. So, what we are going to do in the next 40 minutes is understand three things. One, my perspective as the presenter today about what is mentoring and my learnings about this entire process of mentoring, whether as a mentee or as a mentor, my learning. So that's one part of it. The second part of it is all about understanding the elements of mentoring, and then finally principles of mentoring. So that's the whole idea. And what I would like to do is go through this in this order and then keep at least 15 to 20 minutes for our interactions and questions. Now, if you have questions already coming up, feel free to put them in the chat window so that I can come back and revisit that, because when I stop my talking and ask you for questions, there may be a possibility that you have forgotten that doubt or clarification which has arisen as I'm speaking. Is that okay? Just a couple of you give me a yes and then we get started.
Yes, yes.
Great. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. And with this, let's go back in time to my journey. Now, this was, I think, in 2007, 2008, and I was visiting the Arab world, Dubai, Abu Dhabi to be specific, and I was there, and that is a picture from my passport, right? When I visited the Arab world, something interesting came to my notice, and that was I saw this. Now, what do you see on the slide? What is that? You can put it in
It's
the
a
chat window or you can give me a voice. Yeah.
That's a falcon.
It's a falcon, that's right. So you see a lot of these falcons in the Arab world. In fact, to that extent, where people actually keep them as their pets, right? People actually pet falcons. Now, this is what I saw when I was there, and I was taken aback and I was taken by surprise as to how people are going to tame such a wild beast, right? It's not easy. It's definitely not easy. So that curiosity in me took me to the next question, and that was, why do they do this? And if they are doing it, how are they able to succeed in doing this? What is that which is motivating them to do this? Anybody here who wants to take a shot at these questions? why are they doing it, and how do they succeed doing it? These are my questions.
They do it for pride.
Okay. And how are they
And they train
succeeding?
it hard. And they train them very hard.
They train them very hard. That's right. So they do it for pride is one answer, which is right. But the second answer and the most interesting part of this conversation is how are they doing it so successfully is when you said they train it very hard. In fact, when I dug deeper, when I went a little more depth, then I understood that the nuance of training this falcon or making it friendly involves a lot of other things just other than just mere hard work and training it hard. So that's the whole experience I'm going to share. So when I started to talk about this, the best answer was right where it was pride, but the next point was they started saying that, you know what, when we start training, we do an important thing, and that is instruct. Now, what is instruct? As we already covered it apart, that it's about giving instructions, it's about training them hard, it's about teaching, it's about telling, it's about ensuring that the falcon does exactly what the instructor wants the falcon to do, right? Why? It comes from experience, it comes from guidance, it comes from vision. What do they want the falcon to be ready for? And that's how the training happens. We all know this. This is common sense that when I want to train someone, I first have to answer the question, what is the purpose of this training? Why am I doing this? And once I, as an instructor, have answered that, then the instruction flows very seamlessly, right? So that's the part which we all have covered. But the surprising part for me was this. During the entire period of training, if you want to call it training, during the entire period of training, that will be somewhere from 3 months to 6 months on an average. And that entire 3 months to 6 months, the person who is training always keeps the falcon with him. When I say with him, it eats with him, it sleeps with him in the same room, and it trains with him. Now, I'm not exaggerating. This is the reality. You can verify facts, you can check up, and you can go back in your own experience if you have seen something like this. So, here is the secret. The secret is the intimacy. The intimacy between the falcon and the trainer. Now, for me, that was the aha moment, because when we do instruction, we do a transaction. But when we are intimate, in the right sense of the word, intimacy is relationship building. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
And that relationship building, thank you so much, that relationship building is what makes an intense relationship. And that intense nature is what is required for success. This is what I understood from that simple visual which I saw. And then when I dug deeper, this is the equation which came out of it. Instruction plus intimacy is equal to intense relationship. Now, this is what I would like to set the context with, because mentoring is, if you look at it in that sense, mentoring is a combination of instruction and intimacy leading to an intense relationship. So it's just not transaction, it's not project, it's not role playing, it's not anything which is give and take. It's beyond that. Now we need to understand as mentors, whether you are a mentor or a mentee, we need to understand that it is, somebody rightly said at the beginning, it's a two-way street. In fact, long back in 2014, when I did a education session on this very topic, my topic was mentoring, but the title of my session was a two-way street. I remember very vaguely that this was a session which was organized by Toastmasters in Pune at the Infosys Club. I went into Infosys and I gave this presentation, and I named it as a two-way street, and I still stand by that, and I want to thank the person who gave the answer. mentoring is a two-way street with instruction and intimacy so that it becomes a intense relationship. Now, it's not about only the mentor is the teacher and mentee is the learner, or it's not about mentee cannot teach the mentor. It's not like that. It's a two-way street. So we'll discover that when we deal with elements and principles. But for now, this is one thing which I want to set it upfront, straight in front of you, that instruction plus intimacy is equal to intense relationships. All right. So now let's take a small little pause and ask you some questions. Let's interact. Now, once we have understood this part, I want to know what are your challenges whenever you think of mentoring as a process. Whatever comes to your mind, put them there. Give me the challenges. Try to keep it short so that I can see more of it, but give me the challenges. Yeah. What are your challenges when it comes to mentoring? Yes, anybody can give an answer on the chat window. Please type whatever you have experienced. Okay, expectations is one challenge, right? Few mentees do not respond. So in terms of proactiveness, that's a challenge. Then you have no proper sync and lack of understanding of expectations. Again, expectations. Then difference of opinion. Healthy when it is in a context of trying to do better, improving quality. But just for the sake of having differences of opinion, not healthy. I agree with you, it's a challenge. Mentee does not respond, proactiveness. Availability of mentee, again, proactiveness. Then how can I know whether I'm ready for mentoring? Because I see many members in my club who are better than me. So the question here is, I don't know if I'm ready for mentoring. Now, in that process, I'm assuming you are thinking of being a mentor, because you say in the next part of your line, Pavan Ranga, where you say that I know many people are better than me. So you're here assuming that I cannot be a mentor because there are many people better than me. But again, I want to stop here and answer you. As I said earlier, it's a two-way street. They may be better than you in particular aspects, no doubt about it. None of us are perfect in everything, but that does not mean that I am not good at anything, right? I may be good at certain other things. So maybe you are the person who's required for somebody else because that person values that quality in you, which may not be found in other members. So having self-doubt is not always good. You can introspect, but at the same time, don't beat yourself up so much that you feel you're not ready yet. Okay. Now, Rahul says making the other individuals understand the context. That's the challenge. Receptivity of the other person, same thing. Motivating the mentee, time is a challenge. Gender bias is a challenge. This is interesting, Sai Akil. Gender bias, yes, can come up a little bit in terms of trying to be intimate with your mentee in the right sense. And then how much is too much is a question which we need to answer there. And bring up from change. I didn't understand this, Ishwar. What do you mean by bring up from change?
Mentee would not ready to change.
Okay, so the challenge to accept reality or accept change. Okay. Afreen, how to idealize ourselves in front of the mentee? No, you don't have to idealize yourself, Afreen. It's, in fact, somebody said at the beginning, show a mirror, but then to show a mirror, you should also hold the mirror in such a way that it reflects the true sense of you. You don't have to be
But
perfect.
unless and until we idealize ourselves in front of the mentee, how can we make sure of this fact that they are properly getting our advices and our guidance or not?
Okay, that reminds me of a story, and let me tell you that story. Hopefully, you'll get an answer there. It seems there were two children, and these two children grew up together in the same house, brothers, and they went up to become two different individuals. One was a celebrated, successful CEO who led businesses to success and he gave employment to thousands of people, and the other became one of the most wasted individuals in terms of trying to be a drug addict, trying to be into substance abuse, and was booked in a lot of petty cases in the police department. And finally, when all of them met together, when the roads met one more time, they both were asked the same question as to why did you become what you became. why did you become what you became? And the answer both of them gave, the long story short, was because of our father. It was because of our father. Now they did not understand. They said, why? And the guy who was successful, a CEO, said, I saw my father, and I saw my father disciplined, dedicated, determined to achieve his goals. He was struggling to make ends meet. And then I realized that no, I'm going to study well, work hard, become a top CEO, and help people so that none of them have to struggle like my father. And now the term of the other boy. And then the other boy said, I became because of my father. I said, what do you mean? Your brother just gave a right answer, and that was so inspiring. And then he said, no, I saw my father slogging every day, trying to work hard, determined, dedicated, and disciplined. And I said, why the hell should we do this? We have one life, and let's enjoy and do whatever we want to do, because anyway, he's struggling to make ends meet. Now you look at it, the same person can be an inspiration for somebody, but at the same time can be a frustration for somebody else. So if I idealize,
Yeah.
in what way are you idealizing? Are you with me, Afreen?
Yes, yes, I'm following you.
So that's the point. So if I showcase the true self by transparency, by being very humble, by being very genuine, now people may think that this is not what I want. So they may even take a different perspective. So the best part is be authentic. The best way is be authentic. That's the right way. Just be
Okay.
what you are.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the question, by the way. It was very good.
Thanks.
Srinivas, foreseeing the mentee's future. Uh, okay, I will hold my comments on that because you will discover whether you're right or wrong in the next few slides. And Avinash says, no passion from mentee to improve. Again, remember this line, Avinash. The quote goes like this: if you can spot it, you have got it. I repeat, if you can spot it, you have got it. Now, what does that mean, Avinash? What did you understand? If you can spot it, you have got it.
They try to identify their core challenges, why they don't want to go to the next stage.
I'm sorry. Anybody else would like to take a shot at this? If you have got it, you have. If you have spotted, you have got it.
Chandra, Saurabh here. What I understand is if we know the right pulse, where to hit so that the mentee should get passionate or excited to deliver better, we are on the track.
Let me make it a little more simpler. Saurabh, thanks for that answer, but that's not the right one completely. But I
Okay.
want to make it a little more simpler for all of you. If you can see it, you have got it.
If you translate it in Hindi, Anirudh here, Chandrasekhar.
Yes.
So if in Hindi, if you translate, so जौहरी कोई हीरे की परख होती है. So I feel that's the translation.
That's right. You're almost there. Bingo. Now, the simplest explanation of that line, if you can see it or spot it, you have got it, is Avinash, I empathize with you here when you say, I don't see the passion in my mentee. That's because your mentee may not be able to see the passion in you as a mentor. Are you with me?
Okay. Yeah.
So if I can spot it, if I can see the passion, that means I've got the passion. So it's like this. Have you heard of this quotation which says, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives?
Right.
Right. So that's the point. We need to spot that in our people. And when we are spotting it, I'm not saying it's the duty of the mentor alone. It can be the duty of the mentee also. But the point is, when we are able to see that, that's when we are able to spot it. And we can spot it only because we have got it here. So it works both ways. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you for that Hindi proverb. That was very timely. I really appreciate that. Thanks. Okay, so this being covered, and we have broadly identified some of the challenges, and let's see if we can find some solutions to these challenges in the next slide. Okay, so mentoring. What is mentoring? So coming again, in my experience, what I understood from this intimacy and instruction and whatever I have experienced in the last 10 years of mentorship journey is this. Mentoring is just this. My definition of mentoring is this: two great tastes that taste great together. Now I'll let you sink in that line for a couple of seconds. Two great tastes that taste great together. Why do I do that? Just go back in slide and you see peanut butter and chocolate. And it was a commercial which was held, and I think I have the commercial somewhere here. Yeah, let me see if I have that. Can you hear the voice?
Peanut butter.
Yes, now we can.
You put your chocolate in my peanut butter. Peanut butter on my chocolate. What? Delicious.
Two great tastes that taste great together. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Real milk chocolate delicious peanut butter.
Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
And Reese's Crunchy Peanut Butter Cups topped with chopped peanuts.
So I think you saw the commercial. I don't have to replay it, right?
Not required.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. So basically, that was a very funny way, and tell you this, that two great tastes that taste great together. So mentoring is a combination. It's always a combination. It's a team sport. It is not a solo sport. It is always a combination where two people, two brains come together, discuss ideas, discuss issues, discuss challenges, and come up with interesting perspectives. I don't even want to use the word solution. They come up with interesting perspectives and then they go forward. Because in life, if you look at it, if you come to actually answer the question, which is right and which is wrong, there is really no right and no wrong. Life is not that black and white. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Totally.
Yes.
Yes.
So the same thing, I mean, some simple example, I wrote a particular speech today, and maybe 6 months later, if I look at the topic and I look at my own speech, forget about others, my own speech, it doesn't make sense. You're like, what have I written? And I got a best speaker award for this. Now, are you right now or were you wrong then? You really don't have an answer for it. So we evolve with time. So mentoring is all about two great people coming together so that they become great together. Now, this is the mindset with which we need to approach mentoring. All right. So now let's ask the fundamental question. Now, I want to ask you this: who is a mentor?
Someone we look up to.
Someone you look up to. Okay. Are you a mentor? Now let me rephrase. Are you a mentor?
For someone who looks up to me, yes, probably.
I feel everyone's a mentor.
You say?
I feel everyone is a mentor.
Okay. So my question now, let me rephrase again. Are you a mentor? I'm asking it as direct as this. I don't think I can get more direct than this. 50 people on this webinar or whatever you want to call this in meeting, are you mentor material? Don't answer for others. Don't answer for others.
Sometime we have been we have acted as a mentor in our lives at different places or at different times.
Let's dig a little more deeper. As of now, what is the time now? It's 12:07. 12:07 on 25th of July 2020, Saturday. Are you a mentor?
No.
Yes.
The answer is no, because now we are learning. So we are the mentees now.
Okay. So I heard two different answers. One was yes, 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 but then in between it was interspersed with no. The answer is no, because at this point in time we are learning, and that's why we are not mentors, we are mentees, right? That's what I heard.
Yes, Chandra.
Now let me
Yes,
clarify
Chandra.
this. Just because you are learning, that does not put you away from being a mentor. Because in fact, the learning is more when you are a mentor. Because as a mentor, you can empathize better. The only distinction between a mentee and a mentor in my book is a mentee can empathize, but a mentor will empathize. Only because the mentor has understood that it is two-way, and the mentor has understood that, listen, this person is in the process of certain discoveries, which I already had the fortune of discovering. And that's the reason I have to empathize with this person. That's the only distinction. Remember the falcon and the Arab. It is not the falcon which is telling the Arab, come close to me. It is not the falcon which is telling, I want to eat with you. It is not the falcon which is telling, train me. No, it's the Arab. Why? Because every single time the Arab trains the falcon, he knows it will take some time, 3 to 6 months. That's his job. But that's empathy. That's coming out of empathy. So the only distinction between a mentor and a mentee is empathy in my book. Now tell me, are you all mentors right now?
Yes.
That's right. We are all mentors when we have that degree of empathy, and that degree of empathy can be improving and it can be increasing as we progress. But then we are all mentors. We don't need to have DTM qualification in our context of Toastmasters, or I don't need to have a CEO qualification in the context of a professional business, or I don't need to be a father in the context of a family business that to become, or I mean family, not business, but in the context of family, to become a mentor, to become a guide, to become a example, right? So that's what I am here to convey to you. Now, yes, I noted the green card. Thank you. Now let's listen to this. The whole how did it originate? The mentor originated here. Listen.
Even the origin of the word mentor is interesting. In Homer's epic, Ulysses had to undertake a long and uncertain journey to fight the Trojan War. Ulysses had a young son whose name was Telemachus. And Ulysses had to think about who would look after the growth and mental development of Telemachus when he was away. He decided to entrust the youngster to the care of his trusted friend, whose name was Mentor. Over the centuries, mentoring has come to symbolize the transfer of wisdom from one person to another, from one generation to another.
So now you know what is the... Hello?
Yes.
How many of you
Yes, definitely.
How many of you knew this definition of mentor even before the session started today?
Well, I heard this story a lot of times.
Fantastic. So now you understood. It is not about I am a senior, you're a junior, or I am more red and you're less red, or I am having higher qualification, I have a higher pedestal. No, it's about can I transfer the wisdom from me to somebody else? Then I'm a mentor. Whatever may be, whatever may be, whatever may be, right? So that's the whole thing. Some of you may not have heard this, so maybe I can replay it later. I'll share it with Saurabh and he can replay, because this is a audio which is available and you can always look it up, but I'll still share this with Saurabh and you can take it from here. Now let's quickly move towards elements. I'm just going to quickly run through this because this is common knowledge, but I want to set this in your mind that these are the fundamental elements of mentoring. Now you see in the photograph, you see Sri Krishna and Arjuna in the whole Mahabharata epic. Now I'm not professing any religion here, but I just took it up as an example, and the further elements will have different people as examples. So this is one such example. Now the point what I'm trying to make here is trust. Now why do I want to talk about trust is one instance from their life. You know, it so happened that there was this war which was being fought, that is the Mahabharata war, the Kurukshetra, and there Arjuna actually gets into an argument with one king and tries to have a fight in such a way with words that Krishna do not approve that particular fight. He says, as a Kshatriya, your job is to fight with your weapons and not with your words. But then Arjuna goes on and Krishna tries to stop him and stop him and stop him, but then it does not end. Finally, Krishna leaves the place and then goes out. And Arjuna, after finishing whatever venom he had in him, He then now looks for Krishna and he doesn't find him, and then he goes in search of him, only to find Krishna sitting at his seat on the chariot. Now, what does this say? Krishna might not have approved Arjuna on what he did, but Krishna had so much faith in Arjuna that he did not ostracize him. He did not leave him to fend for himself. He still went back to ride the chariot which belongs to Arjuna, right? So what does trust tell you, and what does trust show you? Now I want to ask a question here. This is the trust which you should have on your mentee. Your mentee may fail you, your mentee may succeed you, but still never ever lose the trust, and that's a fundamental element of mentoring. Now, the question which is coming to you is, there are two interchangeably used words, trust and faith. Now, I want somebody to answer in the chat window only, what is the difference between trust and faith? The reason I want you to answer is, when you write words, you get clarity. So, trust versus faith, give me the answer. Trust and faith. How are they two different?
Faith is something blindly
Chat.
trusting.
Oh, don't talk. Chat. I want you to write it so that you will remember and you will also get the clarity. This question needs to be answered in the chat window, please. Trust versus faith. What is trust and what is faith? Faith is related to hope, okay? Faith is blindly trusting, interesting. Faith is trusting absolutely without any doubt. Okay, so what I get to understand is, faith has no logic, trust is tangible. Yes, so faith is one step above trust. That's what I get from your answers, right? Now, if I look at it and define it in simple terms, trust is believing in somebody's ability, but faith is complete confidence. As you said rightly, blind trust. Blind trust is faith, and trust is consciously, tangible, and faith is unconscious. It comes inside out, right? Some of you have given the right answer, in fact, better answers than what I have on the slide. I really appreciate you for that. Faith is spiritual, trust is relationship. Well, that you can compare it with the answer on the screen, but some answers were really, really very inspiring. Thank you so much for that. Now, the next element after trust. Yes, I've already covered it. Support but do not interfere, criticize but do not insult, advise, do not make them dependent, disown the decisions but do not disown them. This is exactly what Krishna did with Arjuna. Disown his decision but do not disown them. And normally in our mentor-mentee relationship, when we tell the mentee not to do something, or when the mentee tells us that this is not the way, we may end up saying, okay, then if you know better than me, go ahead and do it. That's not the point. He or she may still go ahead and do what he or she wants, but that doesn't mean you will disown them. You stay with that particular decision. You can argue it to the end of the world, but at the end of the day, once you have decided whether you have won or the person has won, we stay together. As I said, mentoring is a team sport and not a solo sport. This is another person. And the second element is respect. This gentleman in the photograph we know is J.R.D. Tata, but the other person there, the small picture, is Jefferson. And Jefferson was the director in charge of Tata Steels. Now, why am I putting this is, J.R.D. was a person who dreamt of airlines, who dreamt of flying. Now, when he went to his father and told that we want to start this company or this project of flying, his father refused instantly. And that time JRD was just 18, 19. Jefferson, who had been a mentor to JRD for 11 years, from the age of 7 to then, went back to the father, that is JRD's father, and convinced JRD's father about the dream of aviation which JRD had, and then he made sure that his father approves the project. Now, the rest we know is history, how Indian Airlines came into picture and how it is serving even to this day. Now, what do we understand here? Jefferson, as being a mentor, respected JRD's decision and stood by putting his weight behind JRD in front of his own father, while Jefferson's boss was JRD's father. So you see the connection here, respect. So when you have a mentee or a mentor, when you are in the relationship, trust is very important. Respect becomes equally important. That is the second element of mentoring. Third is a beautiful story of commitment. What you see on the picture is Helen Keller and her nanny. Now, the story we know of Helen Keller is a blind child making it great and then trying to start a lot of philanthropic initiatives across the world. But this lady has a story. When she used to guide and teach Helen when she was small, at the age of 65, that nanny becomes blind. And Helen Keller reciprocates and teaches her Braille at 65. This nanny taught Helen at 6, but 65, Helen Keller teaches the nanny Braille language and handling things by being blind. Now look at the commitment. So that's why I say it's two-way street. It's two-way street. If your mentee is committed to you, you got to be committed to the mentee. And if you are committed to your mentor, the mentor has to be committed to you. So it's a two-way street. So these are the three fundamental elements: trust, respect, and commitment. Again, two great traits that taste great together. Now let's look at principles. And when I talk about principles, yes, I note the yellow card. Thank you. When I talk about principles, first principle, approachable. Now, approachable do not mean that you will be available 24/7. Approachable means you have access to your mentor or mentee, and you know that that person is available for you and you can always connect. I saw some of the challenges which was mentioned here, that they don't respond. It's a solemn oath which a mentor and a mentee will take once they are in that relationship, that they remain approachable to both and to each other at all times, as and when the demand is, the situation demands. So that's the first principle. Second principle is the principle of predictability. Now, what do I mean by predictability? Is you cannot act quixotic with your people because of situations. Sometimes I may be having a high day or a low day. It depends on my day, but that does not mean my mood will depend on that particular situation. So as a mentor or a mentee, we got to be predictable. Because I see in my experience, sometimes we are overprotective and sometimes we are not bothered, least bothered. Now that is not a good way. You need to maintain an equilibrium, a balance. And that's why I put that as the second principle, the principle of predictability. And then we come to the third principle, and that is, the third principle is of accountability. Now this is very important. Being accountable to your people. Remember, being approachable is one thing, but when you are approachable and you end up making certain commitments, you got to be accountable to fulfill those commitments. And these three principles, if you look at it, they are held by the same string. On one end is the mentor, on other end is the mentee. So we hold that stronger and this stays together. Approachability, predictability, and accountability. So these are the three principles of mentoring. So as we come to the end, I want you to find the falcon. Now, when I say I want you to find the falcon, let's do a small test. Let's do a small test. And this is a symbolic way of telling you, you need to look for the obvious. Because it's very easy to say, I don't want this mentor, I don't want that mentee, I don't want to work with this person, I don't want to do that. But I want you to look at it in the fresh pair of eyes. That is the exact thing which I want to do as an output of this session, is to let you find your falcon. So are you ready for a simple quiz now? Yes. Thank you very much for the answer, because we will be taking this quiz for next 3 minutes and then we are open for questions. So get your questions ready as we go. What do you see on the screen? Now you can unmute and talk. quiz open for people to talk.
Black
Black
cat.
cat.
Black cat, that's it. You don't see anything else?
In between.
It's vertical alignment.
Lines at the bottom, left and right.
So you see two lines.
Two eyes.
Two eyes. Two eyes.
Where do you see two eyes?
Before the K and before the K.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Black cat written in white.
Somebody see a cat now?
Yes.
Wow. So that is looking at the obvious, right? So the same pair of eyes you had, which read black cat, when you observed a little more deeper, you could see a cat in itself, right?
Yes.
Now why this quiz? Let's discover more. What do you see now?
Two mountains.
Two mountains, okay. Thank God somebody did not say two bull horns.
It seems to be two chocolates, two kisses.
How many of you have actually tasted Hershey's Kisses? Sorry?
Yes,
Boomerang kind of things.
Sorry, I
We
can't
can
see.
see-
Can you be a little louder?
Two boomerang kind of things.
Two boomerang kind of things. Is there anything
Looks
else you see apart from
two kisses chocolate, I think.
that's the background, right? The white wrapped Kisses chocolate.
Yes.
Looks like two hearts beating together.
Two hearts.
You-
beating together. Wow.
That's true.
Fantastic. So any other creative answers? Because all of them are very creative but not right. Sorry?
Two momos in the background.
Okay. So now focus on what I am going to highlight here. Do you see something here between the K and I?
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
exactly
yes.
the shape of a Kisses chocolate.
Yes.
You see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So look at the obvious. That's very clear there, but see, we could not spot it. The reason is this is what happens in mentoring. Something is very much in front of us, and we don't see it because we are busy with our own expectations, our own predicaments, our own assumptions. Now, what do you see here?
Arrow in E and X.
Now the eye is tuned. Now the eye is tuned, right?
Yeah.
That's actually the logo of FedEx. Okay, now this is the tip. Mentoring is what happens between your eyes and your ears. Between this, that is mentoring. Okay, now the last one. What do you see here? Now this is a tough one, huh? I'm warning you before. You see Museum of London, but is there anything else you see?
It's like an entrance to a cave.
There's an
Any answers?
kind of fruit shown below the Museum of London.
Yeah, you're partly correct, but somebody is actually unmuted and talking to not relevant to this session. So can you please mute yourself, please? Okay, please go ahead and give me your answer. The lady who spoke just now.
There's some avocado kind of fruit-like picture just shown below. Where it is written Museum of London.
Okay, good try, but not pretty much right. So the answer is simple. You see this small circle here? That was the London map when London was London, as coined as London. But today, London map is this. So what Museum of London has done is they have put layer after layer of London map and showed how London has expanded over a period of time, and that's what you see in the logo in the Museum of London. So mentoring is all about expanding your horizons, expanding your perspectives by spotting the obvious. So that is what I would like to end my presentation with, as mentoring is two great tastes that taste great together. Mentoring is what happens between your eyes and your ears, and mentoring is expanding by looking at the obvious. So with this, I want to thank you, and now I want to open up for questions. Yes.
Thank you, Chandra. Saurabh here.
Thank you, Saurabh.
So, can I take the first question?
Yes.
Okay, so this is more from a mentor point of view, not mentee. So in my life, what I practice is I take mentees, and when I see that they have already grown up, they have learned a lot, I follow a practice of shuffling mentees. And I want to know how much correct am I, because at times I feel people are happy, at times I feel mentees are not happy with this decision of mine, but there are no gray feelings at my end. So how should we practice mentoring in Toastmasters, if I ask at a very high level?
So it's like this. At the beginning of the relationship, first of all, it's a very, very valid and a realistic question. So at the beginning of the relationship between a mentor and a mentee in a club, keep this question standard. In fact, I had that one more at one of the slides, the tip number 2. Mentoring is about asking the right question. So ask the right question to your mentee as to what do they envisage in this relationship. What do they want to accomplish in this relationship? Now they may say anything, whatever they want to say in Toastmasters context. I want to become VTM, or I want to clear level 1, or I want to go through this project, or I want to become an area director, or I want to become a president, or whatever. Now you look at it from your perspective and ask whether yourself, whether you are able to join this journey with that person, because that person is going to go there anyway, whether with you, without you, or in spite of you.
Okay.
Now, are you ready to be a part of that journey? Now, if you are part of the journey, then that defines the timeline. So you say very clearly, okay, here we are starting this journey together, and I'm going to be with you till this place, till this time, or till such time where you decide that that is no longer worth pursuing.
Okay.
Because sometimes I start with going to some place, but then in the middle of the way, I decide for some obvious reason or some unforeseeable reason that I may get a transfer to on-site, or I may have family issues, or I may not be more inspired by that anymore, whatever. So till such time where either you reach the place or you feel that that is no longer the place I want to go, there is no question of anybody quitting on each other.
Sure, Chandra.
So that way what happens, you are very clear with your exit option even before you start the journey.
That's correct.
Then there are no hard feelings.
Sure. Thank you. This
Thank you,
helps. I think Animesh is waiting for a long time. He pinged me. Animesh, you can unmute and ask your question.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else can take the slot?
Yeah, there is one question here on the chat. Prakash says, we see sometimes the mentees mimic or eventually become like mentors. Is it a good indication? Because the originality of an individual is lost. Yeah, it's a very difficult question and difficult situation. But the fortunate part is, if they are able to mimic certain good things, good for all of us. But if you look at it from the context of human psychology, human beings always learn from each other through mimicry. We learn only by mimicking. We started to walk, we started to talk, or we started to hold a pencil or try to behave like that because we saw somebody doing it. Even we like to talk like somebody. Okay, so mimicking people is biological, is ingrained in our DNA and psyche. But having said that, what I would like to tell you here is self-awareness becomes the cornerstone. I don't mind mimicking somebody, or I don't mind somebody mimicking me, but not at the cost of losing their self-awareness. So as a mentor or as a mentee, I would focus my attention on if I am self-aware. If I'm self-aware and I'm still mimicking somebody, absolutely fine. Because that's a choice which I'm taking, and there is not, it's not a crime, and there is no rule that you should not mimic. But if I'm not self-aware and I feel mimicking that person, I may be able to get what he got or she got, I think that's the wrong boat. We should not go there. Okay. Yeah, somebody started to ask me a question and I read this. So sorry to interrupt, but you can start now. How do I, as a mentee, get the maximum of learning from my mentor? Again, it's relative. Maximum is relative. Now for you, learning that project speech or clearing that project speech is the most difficult hurdle. Example, but your mentor may not even consider that as penultimate. Your mentor may consider that as fundamental. So learning maximum doesn't work. What I suggest is have goals. Have goals and achieve goals one after the other. When you make it a goal, you make it concrete. And when you make it concrete, you can at least measure. But if you make it like this, minimum, maximum, your minimum may be my maximum may be somebody's minimum. So do not make it very generic, make it specific, make it measurable. Thank you. How do I know what right question to ask as a mentor? Self-awareness is one tip. Second, be authentic. Be authentic. Whatever is your problem, say that. Don't judge yourself by saying, what if that person feels it is too lame? What if that person feels I am not asking him something very high profile because I'm disrespecting his stature? No. Be very, very, very authentic. And when you are authentic, that's when the reality comes out. And that's when the transparency comes out. And that's when the intimacy comes out. So be very authentic. Ask any question which is truth. You should feel it. You should feel it. Okay. How do we extend this mentoring we learn from this session and in TM to our personal lives between father, mother, and son? Let me read this question again. How do we extend this mentoring we learn from this session and in TM to our personal lives? Simple, right? These principles are universal. These elements are universal. I talk about truth, I mean trust, I talk about respect, and I talk about commitment. Now that is universal. You can take that and apply it in your family relationship. The principles of approachability, predictability, and accountability. Again, universal. You can take it to your office or your home and apply it there. And more importantly, mentoring is a two-way street. Mentoring is learning together. Mentoring is transferring wisdom from one person to another. And that person is a mentor. So with that, Vamsi, I think you can extend it to any boundary, whether it is to your family or your workplace or relationships. Okay. Any more questions? When do I understand that I'm ready to be a mentor? I think I answered it already. You are already ready. You don't have to understand. You just have to realize. Understanding is different. Realization is different. So you have to realize that I am already a mentor. And that is when you start looking at it. As I said, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. When the mentor is ready, the mentee arrives. Right? And when the mentee is ready, the mentor arrives. So it's, you have to realize it. You have to can ask these questions to you, Animesh. Now you want to know whether you are ready as a mentor or not. First, will you be able to hold up those elements? Trust, respect, and commitment? 100%? Then you are partially ready. Are you able to keep those principles, being approachable, being predictable, and being accountable? Then you are maybe another 35% ready. So total around 70% you are ready, 35 plus 35. The rest 30% is, are you able to spot the obvious? Are you able to see something in the person in front of you and then acknowledge that and then build on that? If you can do this, then you are ready as a mentor. Okay, Ishita says criticism is a key factor in the mentor-mentee relationship. How to criticize mentor-mentee so that there isn't any negative effects. Evaluation. In Toastmasters, we learn how to give feedback and receive feedback. Use the same technique. Now, why do we feel that evaluation is only for a speaker and an evaluator and not for a mentor and mentee? Use it as a mentor and mentee. Evaluate your speaker, evaluate your mentee on the good things the mentor has or the mentee has and the areas which the mentee can improve. Evaluation technique, the sandwich method, the CRC methodology. Use that, commend, recommend, and comment. Okay. There is a saying, prepare the soil before you sow. Being a mentee, how can I prepare myself to be ready for transformation? As a mentee, as a mentee, the three things which you should be doing to prepare the soil, so called, in your own metaphorical way, is number one, being authentic. It starts with self awareness, right? Be self aware, spot your own self, look at it transparently, inside out, right? Be self aware, be authentic. That is number one. Two, have faith, faith in this entire process of mentor mentee, whoever it is, whoever it is, have unconditional faith in this entire process. And three, don't judge anyone. Don't judge anyone. Listen to that and say thank you for sharing. You may act on it, you may not act on it, that's a different thing, but don't judge. Because when you start judging, you start looking at it with a lens which may not be very, very transparent, right? So first, be authentic, self-aware, and be authentic. Second is have unconditional faith, and third is don't judge, right? Yeah. Any other questions? Ishwar, how are we doing on time?
Yeah, we are good, Chandra. It is around reaching to 1 hour.
Okay, so maybe a last one more question and then I will hand it back to you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay, so any question, who wants to take that last one question which is available to be taken? All right, so I think we are good, and thank you very much for this opportunity, and back to Ishwar. Or sorry, back to, I think, the Toastmaster of the day.
Chandra, we would like to have a picture with you, another group picture with you
I'll stop
along with
the
us.
sharing. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can everybody switch on the camera?
Okay, all cameras are coming up.
Yeah. Everybody say cheese. A few more people want to. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Thank you.
Chandra, on behalf of the entire club and a lot of people who have joined outside the Golden Falcon Club, I would like to thank you for your time and for sharing all the knowledge and wisdom with all of us. And it's not a formality, I mean it. It was really good. We had a reason behind planning this session, and I'm very much sure the purpose has met. All our members have gained a lot of clarity about their roles as mentor as well as mentee. So thank you so much. I might reach out to you again if in case anyone across the audience has got any question or help that we may need. And sorry for not being able to do anything further because it's a virtual session, but definitely we will connect again and we'll do something better in future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Saurabh, but I really don't understand what is that anything further you want to do, but I'm absolutely fine with whatever you've done. But it was a pleasure interacting with all of you. Nice to catch up with all of you, and all the very best. Take care and stay safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Chandra.
Thanks.
Avinash, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, DTM Chandra. That was a very inspiring session with very valuable insights about mentoring, what it is all about. The story of the Arab and the Falcon has been a turning point for me and a great takeaway. I'm sure everyone will inculcate these new perspective of mentoring in their lives and look at the 360-degree view. We appreciate you taking time out and sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you again for joining.